Yahoo Fantasy Baseball, Tucson Toros group. This is your Week 17 quick take. Twice as nice remains undefeated after knocking off the Metropolitans 10-0 in Twice's first sweep of the season. This was not the first time that Mets was swept this year. The second time Metropolitans was swept 10-0 this season. On the offensive side, Metropolitans is using just 9 players. 4 of those players hit under 200. Twice as nice on the offensive side. Very good this week. 5 players hit over 300. Robinson Cano chipped in 3 home runs. Carl Crawford chipped in 4 stolen bases. On the pitching side, Metropolitans roster really not looking that good there either. 4 pitchers were used. The other 4 slots are currently filled by players listed on the DL. Twice as nice had 7 different pitchers pick up wins this week. 7 pitchers with a whip under 1 and 4 pitchers with a 0 ERA. Matt Capps was one of those pitchers. 3 saves and a .33 whip, now pitching for the Minnesota Twins. In other action, a second sweep this week. AZ Padres knocked off Bronx Bombers 10-0. This is AZP's 6th straight win, knocking off a team 10-0 for the second time in the last 4 weeks. For Bombers, 9 straight losses now, has fallen all the way to last place. In the last 3 weeks, has just 1 category victory, is 1-26-3 in 3 weeks of play. For AZP, the team hit over 330 this week. 8 players hit over 300. Paul Konerko chipped in 4 home runs, 11 stolen bases as a squad. 4 of those were from Juan Pierre. For Bronx Bombers, using just 8 players, David Ortiz hit 3 homers and 10 RBIs. The rest of the team managed just 2 homers and 12 RBIs. On the pitching side, Bombers was a little bit better with James Shields, 2 wins, 18 Ks, and a 1.29 ERA. But AZP countered that with 5 pitching wins, 3 pitchers in double digits with Ks, 4 pitchers with a 0 ERA, and Chris Perez, who's now the closer in Cleveland, now that Kerry Wood is now a New York Yankee, picked up 3 saves and a 0 ERA for the Cleveland Indians this week. The big upset this week was Lucky knocking off the Grassy Knoll 6-3-1. For Lucky, the first winning streak of the season for that squad with back-to-back wins now, and ending Grassy Knoll's 9-week winning streak. Knoll finished 9-9-2 in 2 matchups against Lucky this week. Just 500 ball against one of the worst teams in the league. A very tight battle all across the board, though, with Lucky taking 4 out of 5 on offense and Knoll taking pitching 3-2. Lucky was all about 2 players carrying the load this week. Dan Ugla, 5 homers, 10 runs, 7 RBIs, a stolen base, and a .292 average. And Joe Mauer, 9 runs, 10 RBIs, a .632 average. For Grassy Knoll, 1 offensive player was bright, Miguel Cabrera, 2 home runs, 5 RBIs, and a .364 average, but really nobody else providing any major pop to help take any of the offensive categories in stride. On the pitching side, Knoll had no pitching victories this week despite an excellent staff. Did manage 7 saves, though, 4 of those coming from Rafael Soriano. 3 pitchers at double-digit Ks, Cliff Lee with 17, Dan Herron with 14, and Tommy Hansen with 13. But again, none of those pitchers picked up victories, allowing Lucky to win the wins category using A.J. Burnett for a win, 7 Ks, and a 0 ERA. In other action, Jimmy Dugan knocked off Tucson's Prettiest 9-1 in a near sweep. Dugan avenged a Week 2 loss to Tucson's Prettiest with the victory. Biggest win of the season for Dugan's squad. Tucson's Prettiest ended a 5-week winning streak, and Tucson's Prettiest lost 4 out of 5 on offense and lost all 5 of the pitching categories in the process. Dugan took offense 4 out of 5 by using Jose Bautista this week for 5 home runs, 8 runs, 13 RBIs, and a .545 average. Chipping in Angel Pagan's 9 runs and a .455 average to help counterbalance the fact that 8 players on the squad hit under 200 to help cost Jimmy Dugan in the average category. Tucson's Prettiest used Adam LaRoche for 2 homers and 9 RBIs this week on the offensive side, but also used Matt Kemp, who managed just 1 RBI and a .105 average. On the pitching side, 5 pitchers for Tucson's Prettiest had a 6 ERA or higher, while Jared Weaver for Jimmy Dugan carried the load, a win, 15 Ks, a 1.29 ERA in the process. Jimmy Dugan picks up the win over Tucson's Prettiest. Greek Thunder knocked off Derek Loico's Cheater 9-1 in another near sweep. Greek, longest winning streak of the season now at 4 weeks, while Cheater on the longest losing streak of the season at 4 weeks, finishing the 2010 season in 2 matchups against Greek, 2-18. Greek swept the offensive side and took 4 out of 5 in pitching, losing the Ks category to Cheater. Greek hit 300 as a team, hit over 300. 7 players hit over 300 individually, and no player hit under 250 for the week. Cheater had just one player hit over 300 all week. Hanley Ramirez hit a measly 143 from the plate. Gavin Floyd on the pitching side for Cheater. 2 wins, 11 Ks, and a .64 ERA. The rest of the staff, though, no wins, no saves, and all had an ERA of 5.25 or higher. Well, Greek Thunder used Sean Markham for a win, 10 Ks and a 1.29 ERA, while pitching with the flu. In other action, Koufax's revenge knocked off Waveland and Sheffield 6-4. Koufax winner of 4 out of the last 5 weeks, while Waveland has yet to win in the last 6 weeks of play. Koufax took 4 out of 5 on offense. Waveland took 3 out of 5 in pitching. Very tight battles across the board, but Koufax used Carlos Gonzalez to dominate the offensive side. 4 homers, 10 runs, 7 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, and a .533 average to contribute in all 5 offensive categories. And don't forget, he hit for the cycle this past week. Waveland has 7 of 9 players hitting homers this past week, but is missing Brandon Inge, Pudge Rodriguez, Manny Ramirez, and Jason Hayward on the offensive side. So still a lot of pop missing from Waveland's bat. On the pitching side, 3 pitchers had a 0 ERA, but none of those pitchers picked up wins. And Jose Valverde was a mess on the mound out of the bullpen. 0 saves, a 27 ERA. Waveland also didn't use K-Rod, Zach Greinke, or Andy Pettit this week. Roster lineups were not done this week from what it looks like, and that certainly hurt Waveland's cause here, allowing Koufax to take the victory. Koufax won the wins category 1-0, using Roy Halladay for the lone win between these two squads, 9 Ks and a 1 ERA to go with that. Otis and the Drunks knocked off the Androids 7-2 in other action. In the last 9 weeks of play, Otis has lost just once, while Androids has 4 straight losing weeks. Otis took the offensive side 5-0. Pitching was a 2-2-1 split, with a tie in the saves category 0-0. Otis hit over 300 as a squad. 6 players managed to hit over 300 for the week. Scott Rowland hit 556, helping to counterbalance Mark Teixeira's 125 average. Androids had nothing going on the offensive side this week, but on the pitching side, 5 pitching victories. Ubaldo Jimenez picked up a win and 1.29 ERA in the process. Otis managed just 1 win from the staff. That was Brandon Morrow. 3 other pitchers had a 0 ERA. No wins and no saves from that, though. And in the final matchup of the week, Hunt 1981 knocked off Woodless 6-4. Hunt is in the midst of facing the bottom 4 teams in the league, has faced 2 of the 4 so far with 2 more to go, and is 2-0 against those 4. Woodless has lost 7 straight now. Hunt took 4 out of 5 in hitting. Woodless took 3 out of 5 in pitching. This was a close battle that really shouldn't have been close at all, considering the complete disarray that Woodless roster is currently in. Woodless is using only 6 players on the offensive side, with 6 offensive players currently listed on the DL. Woodless did manage 4 pitchers with wins, though. 4 pitchers with a 0 ERA. Wandy Rodriguez, a win, a 0 ERA, and 9 Ks. Hunt counterbalanced that by picking up the saves category, using Leo Nunez for 3 saves. Looking ahead to Week 18 action, Twice as Nice versus AG Padres is going to be the key matchup of the week. Grassy Knoll's going to take on Waveland and Sheffield, trying to bounce back. Both teams are trying to bounce back from some recent struggles. Otis and the Drunks going to take on the Metropolitans. Jimmy Dugan's going to get Koufax's revenge. Greek Thunder going to take on Lucky. Hunt 1981 is going to take on Derek Locos Cheater. And the Androids going to take on Tucson's Prettiest. While the marquee matchup of the week is really probably going to be the battle for 15th place, as Bronx Bombers and Woodless, currently in the league cellar, will face off with one another in Week 18. So we hope to see you back next week for a recap of Week 18 action in the Tucson Toros League.